Well, happy Friday. It's time for another conversation about my book project, the sayings and experiences and lessons from my dad, called $5 in the World. That's the working title, anyways. And you've been gracious enough to join me every week as I work through some of the ideas and some of the concepts and some of the challenges of working on something I haven't done before. I've written a lot of essays, I've written a lot of letters, I've written a lot of notes, I've written some speeches and some sermons, but a book I've not written one before, not really. And so this is a challenge and I'm figuring it out a bit. I'm getting some advice from people from time to time, and I find that really, like my coach told me, just start writing the stories, get something on paper and work on it from there. And I saw another writer say you can't edit a blank page. So every week I try to write some more, try to remember some memories, get the sayings right, talk to other people who knew Dad, and kind of double check some things, and just continue to write them down and share them with you every Friday. And I'm looking forward to doing that again today. It's Good Friday is the day I happen to be doing this, and this is going to be, it's been an active day already. But fortunately, around 6:30, kind of wind it all down and get into more of a contemplative state. And our church will be having a Good Friday service tonight, 6:30. From what I've read of it, the program, it's going to be a solemn occasion, as it should be. Good Friday was the darkest day in history, and we can only call it good because Sunday happened. Without it, it would have been the crime of the century in terms of Jesus's execution. But there was so much more to come from that, and that kind of fits in a way with what I want to talk about today. You don't know how something's going to end till it ends. You don't know how everything's going to turn out till it does. And as humans, we have a tendency to do a couple things. I think one, we want to look far ahead into the future as we think we can, and we want to use our past experiences and hopes and dreams and prejudices and all the other stuff that goes on up in the head of ours, and try and figure out what that's going to be, and what am I going to do when, and what am I going to do then, and then what am I going to do then. And in a positive way, we can call that goal setting or dreaming, and in a negative sense, we can call it catastrophizing or anxiety. But we do have this idea about looking for, and then the other thing we do, because we see connections and we see patterns even when they're not really there, and think that we can tell, well, if this happened, then that's going to happen. We anticipate, and that's fine to a point, but we can get in a little bit of trouble when we act in the present based on an anticipated future. And if we're wrong in our anticipation, then all of our actions leading up to it could actually have been the wrong ones or not beneficial. So there is this idea that we know how things are going to end. Deep down, we're anxious because we know we actually don't, but a lot of times we convince ourselves that we actually do. And so it leads to a lot of missed opportunities. If we quit too soon, or we write off a relationship too early, or we give up on a business idea before it has a chance to really grow, we don't know all the things we're going to miss. I saw a really great quote on regret one time, and more than once really, and it said, we don't so much regret the things that we've tried that didn't work out. We regret the things we never risked. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. Cutting things short, giving up too soon, not even trying because, we convince ourselves it's not going to work. That idea that we know how the future is going to turn out. We have to really guard our hearts and minds against that. Again, it's okay to anticipate and plan and have scenarios in mind, but when we act in the present as if if we act in the present as if the future's already happened the way we think it's going to, we rob ourselves of so many things, and we don't want to do that. And these two, I don't know, they were really kind of sayings, or really just a philosophy about things. Started with Dad's love for sports. And if you know me, you know I love sports. And I came by it honestly. My dad was a major American football fan. and a particular affinity for, you guessed it, Michigan State football. And so I grew up going to Michigan State football games from a very, very young age. Probably 3, 4, 5 years old, I was going to games. And I remember some of those early games. Some of them, I know they were early because they were before my brother was born. So that was, I'm talking 5 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, and ever since. I still go to the games. I'm a season ticket holder now myself, and I go to a lot of the games. But there were two things about going to a game my dad was adamant about, and they're probably not what you would expect, but I'm looking forward to sharing them with you, because even though these two ideas were formulated around going to football games, really the idea expands out pretty well, and I've used it for like even my approach to life in general. And I think you'll see what I mean as I read read through these. They're relative, like a lot of what I've written. It's not a real long chapter, but I think there's a lot to it, and I look forward to seeing what you think of it. As always, again, I don't take your time for granted. I know these sessions last anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, and I know you've got a lot going on. We all do, and the fact that you have been willing to take that amount of time out of your own schedule to spend time with me on this, and then share your thoughts and your encouragement and your input and feedback is so precious to me, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. So these are the two sayings about sports that my dad had about going to a game. Specifically, he's going to games, and we did that a lot. So here it goes. We went to a lot of football games. My dad loved going to Spartan games. That's Michigan State Spartans. My dad loved going to Michigan State Spartan games, and he really liked watching the NFL. From an early age, we headed to East Lansing for the home games. Dad had a long history with the Spartan football program, and he never tired of them. His last game that he went to in person was the 2013 Big Ten Championship game in Indianapolis against the undefeated Ohio State Buckeyes. He was 98 years old. After the game, which was a thrilling victory for MSU, he said, "That's the last one for me. It's a pretty good finale." He continued to watch games on TV, and we had a blast watching games with him, but he didn't go to another game live after that. He had two rules for going to a game. Number one, don't miss the kickoff. This made for edgy mornings on game day. It was like we could not leave too early. The principle became a way of looking at life. Got to show up to be a part of it. Be there at the start. Don't miss a thing. Side note, that you can't leave too early. If you ask the people that go to games with me now, I've inherited that big time. I'm always, I'm more edgy about going to the game, getting out of the house and getting on the road to get to the game, I think, than the football team is about getting on the field. But like I said, I was raised that way from the time I was like 4 years old to now. So I come by it honestly. But yes, I don't know that you can leave too early to get to the game on time. And so that's just one of those things that I inherited. But I love that idea. And here was one of the cooler times. One game at Penn State University, we got caught in stubborn traffic heading into the stadium parking areas, and our head start evaporated. He got to the stadium, and while waiting for our ride to the upper deck, it didn't feel like we'd be in our seats by kickoff. He was about 90 years old at the time. He looked at me and said, "We're in the stadium. It counts." And I knew what he meant. The cool thing is, we did make it to the seats anyways, just in time for the kickoff, or just in time for the coin toss. And even better, Michigan State won that game. The second rule, which I've always felt and believed to be the truly crucial one, don't leave a game early. He showed us that no matter the score, the weather, or the time, stay until the end of the game. We don't know the future, and as Yogi Berra famously said, it ain't over until it's over. My dad's never quit attitude, a firm belief that there is always a chance for things to go your way, is inspired his attitude about games. I mean, that's a fact. we never left a game. Michigan State could be up big. They could be getting hammered. It could be raining. It could be snowing. It could be raining and snowing. Sat through some of those. Didn't matter. We didn't miss kickoff, and we didn't leave early. It was just, it became a kind of a stubborn thing, a kind of point of pride, really, but in a good way. So it's like that perseverance, stick to it. You never know. I mean, wild things happen in sports just like they do in life. And that attitude about never leaving a game early is the same attitude I take about every challenge I get involved in. I'm not quitting. If it's something that matters to me, if I'm there for it, I'm not going to quit till the game's over. And I don't know what that even means in a lot of cases. Sometimes it's until you're called home by the Lord, or until a business closes, or until a show's over, or until the game's over. You just keep playing, you keep showing up, doing the next thing, you hang in there. Same thing with relationships. I don't know, if there's somebody I'm estranged from, or there's somebody I haven't seen in a while, or somebody I'm alienated from, or someone who, being a Christian, I hope comes to the faith and hasn't yet, or someone who's dealing with addictions that haven't gotten well yet. I'm just like, if they're alive and I'm alive and God's in his heaven, there's a chance this is going to work out okay. I want to stay engaged. I want to stay involved in some healthy way, hopefully. But you just don't know. People will surprise you. The world will surprise you. You'll surprise yourself if you just hang in and see what happens. Sometimes things end, some decisions make themselves. But as far as it's up to me, if there's a chance, if it's still going, if there's still time on the clock, so to speak, I'm there for it. And because of this principle, we sat through some miserable losses, got soaked in rain, frozen in snow, but we also saw miraculous finishes, nail-biting victories, and the second stringers who played lopsided victories. I found this precept to apply in life. The easiest thing isn't where the best things are found. So many people quit early on a dream, give up because they don't believe a win is possible, and they never get that win. So many times I've had people lament missing the amazing finish because they left early. Thanks to my dad, I've never been able to commiserate with somebody on that note. Be there at the start and see it through to the end, and it will be an exciting life. And that's the short chapter on this whole idea of don't miss kickoff, don't leave the game early. Get all of it. I mean, the reality is there's a sense of being present that factors into this too. It's like there's a whole lot that goes into, say, a road trip to a game, or starting a business, or beginning a marriage, or starting to have children, or just going off to school that day. You're there for that reason. You've set aside that time. This is what I'm going to do. So why waste any of the time? Why give up any of it before it's done? Just make up your mind. I've learned to make up my mind. I'm going to be there at the beginning. I'm going to see it through to the end. I'm going to be there at kickoff, and I'm going to see the game to the last whistle, because then I get all of it. And I'm present, and I'm not worried about all the other things I could be doing. I'm not worried about traffic. I'm not worried about, what am I going to do after? I'm just there for it. And if we can be that way about so many of the big things in our life, so many of the events of our lives, just be there for it. You chose this. You said you wanted to do this. We made plans for this event. Let's be here for it and get all of it, all that we can. Like I said, even in lopsided games, one way or the other, whether it's a big win or a big loss, that changes the dynamic. All of a sudden you start seeing players play that haven't played before. You get to see how people react under stress. You see how they deal with success. There's a lot to observe and to learn about your team, or about your own life, or those around you, on how they do in lopsided situations. How are they when they're winning big? How are they when they're losing big? How am I when I'm winning big? How am I when I'm losing big in some situations? It's just stick around and find out. And during the course of that, doing that over and over, you start realizing there's something about the resiliency is like a muscle. You have to exercise it. You have to get you have to build up that sense that I'm going to see this through. I can do this. And you can practice in really non-consequential things like games, or a movie, or sitting through a play, or sitting through something that maybe you don't really like that much, you thought you were going to and you don't, but you just see it through to the end because you've conditioned yourself to finish what you started. And if you can practice that in things that don't cost you anything, just a game and some time, when bigger moments come along, you're kind of used to practicing that. You're kind of used to I found it makes me, I'm conditioned to seeing things through. It started with simple things like sitting through a game, and it grew into, working through relationship issues, or sticking by a friend who's going through a bad time, hanging in there on a difficult business deal, staying there for someone who's sick, helping an elderly, a dying parent, and not giving up on some of the more unpleasant things that happen when somebody's towards the end of their life. Just hang in there till the end, see it through, finish the race. Paul talks about that. If you want to check scripture for a minute, the Apostle Paul uses that. He uses a sports metaphor, interestingly enough, about how our faith life should be. He talks about don't train in vain. Train yourself spiritually to do things with it. Participate. Don't miss the kickoff. Be there for it. And then he says later on, finish the race, meaning finish what you started and finish strong. End your life faithfully as you lived it throughout. Don't give up at the end. Don't weaken. Don't throw in the towel. Don't quit because things didn't work out the way you thought they were going to. Just have this faith and confidence to finish the race and see what happens at the end. See it all the way through. That's a lot of heavy thinking coming out of this adage about how to go to a game. But I'll tell you something, man. I've been to, like I said, I've been to a ton of games. And the score gets a little lopsided or the time is close to being done. And I marvel at how many people get up and start heading for the exits. They think they know how the game's going to end. They think they got it figured out. They're already on to the next thing, which I guess is getting out of the parking lot. I never give that a thought. Heck, half the time I can't remember where I parked my car. Not because I drink anymore, but just I park the car and I'm focused on getting in the stadium. And so I don't even think about it because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm not there to leave. I'm there to see the game. Leaving is something that happens after. It's not even on the radar during the game. I don't care about traffic, especially if we win. Then who cares? But I'm always like, it's okay. It's one thing if an adult gets up and leaves. I always think, well, I guess you've made up your mind. But it really kind of bugs me when an adult takes a child out of a game that's lopsided or the game that he thinks is over. I think it's essential. Essential is a strong word. I think it's really important life lesson to have a kid learn to sit through the tough stuff. If the team's losing and he's sad, and even if he's crying, done all of that, work through it. Life will do that to you sometimes. Sometimes your team doesn't win. Sometimes your plan doesn't work. Sometimes your dream doesn't come true in that area, but there's another game, another dream, another opportunity, another relationship. You learn that by going to game after game after game. They're sequential. The stuff happens, and then there's something else that'll happen, and you show up to the next one, and maybe that one turns out better. But leaving early just tells a kid, there's no chance, we can't win, we might as well give up. Or we've got this in the bag, take it for granted, let's go home. I just don't think those are good life lessons. Now, again, that might be reading too much into it, but I don't think so. I think it sets a tone for a whole bunch of other things that come along in life. Those are, for me, having grown up going to games like those other kids that I see going in and out of the stadium, those are memory-making moments. Anytime you get to be with a parent, if you love your parent or parents, and you get to spend that much time with them, a game's a 3, 4 hour, 5 hour event between the drive there, sitting through it, and then leave. 5 hours of time with your parents if you love them. And most of us love our parents, right? That's precious time. You don't very often get 5 straight hours with anybody that you care about. And so whatever happens during that 5 hours, it leaves an impression. And if you're conditioned, we give up when we're too far behind. We take it for granted when we're far ahead. There's nothing more for us to see here. It's more important to beat traffic than to stay on our purpose. I don't know. There's a lot going on there. And I just think, I'm thankful anyways, that Dad taught us to don't miss kickoff, don't leave the game early. Because I've taken those two slogans, if you will, those two adages, and applied them to a bunch of other stuff in my life. And I think it's been a benefit. And I think it's a great way to look at opportunities. It's a great way to look at our obligations. It's a great way to look at the projects we get involved in, you know, appointments, be there early, be on time, be early, don't miss anything, and don't bail early. Give it your all. Be there for the whole thing. If it's difficult, if it's hurtful, if it's hard, I don't mean abusive. I'm talking just disappointment, or setback, that kind of thing. See it through, regroup, games next week. Think about it for a little while and then look forward to the next one. Next one could be better. It's even more so if you're actually a player. But I'm just talking even as just a fan. These are lessons I learned as a fan. Then when I started playing sports for myself or started doing other things for myself, I learned the same lessons. You don't win them all, but you try really hard. And in between the wins and the losses, you keep practicing, keep working at it, keep getting better. And just always believe in yourself and your teammates. And you got a chance to win. And somebody knows what they're doing, and it's going to be okay. But don't give up. Don't quit. Don't leave the game early. Don't throw in the towel while you're still playing. Keep hitting, keep running, keep pushing, keep trying. And even if you're losing the game, you can win your own personal battle within the game. And that's also important. You be encouraging to others who are struggling while they feel like they're losing. You can help them too. Just we want to keep ourselves motivated, and we want to motivate others by how we talk and what we do. So set the standard. Don't miss kickoff. Don't leave the game early. Teach that perseverance. Teach that that excitement about what could happen. Anything is possible. And as long as we're in it, we can still win it. All of that stuff, I think, is just a great way to get the most out of life. So I hope that helped. I know it worked wonders for my dad. I know it had huge benefits for me and my brother. And to this day, it still does. And I still have that attitude. We don't miss kickoff. We don't leave the game early. One last thing on that. I'll take people to games that don't go to the games with us before. Like the first time they go, we always have this little chat. Because I believe in management of expectations. People need to know what they're getting themselves into. So I always tell them, look, we're going to leave earlier than you might want to because I don't want to miss kickoff. It's a thing. And I'm telling you right now, we don't leave the game early. You can, but I'm not gonna. I don't care if it's raining, snowing, anything like that, and we're winning or losing. I just stay to the end. It's a thing. It's just the way it is. And I always let them know that, so that but I also say they don't have to. They don't have to do what I do. If they want to leave, I'll give them the keys or whatever. It doesn't happen very often, but I'm very cool about other people. The standards for myself. And I imposed it on my kids, of course, because I was trying to teach. But they were cool with it too. My kids to this, they don't leave games early either now, and so I'm glad. So it's just like I say, it's a way to go to games, but I think it plays out a bunch of other ways. I'm just thankful for those lessons. I'm thankful for that attitude, and I'm thankful for all the times I got to see it play out in action and then live up to it myself. So there it is, latest installment of $5 in the World. Don't miss kickoff. Don't leave the game early. And on that note, I'm going to leave. So please like, share, subscribe, invite others to it. Comment away in the chat. Let me know what you think. And I look forward to seeing those as the days go by. But please help me get the word out. Help me circulate this YouTube channel, because it'll help me do what I'm trying to get done, and I'd really appreciate it. It's free. The subscription doesn't cost anything. It's just a way of, interacting with the page, and so it helps me know if it's having an impact, because that's part of it too. I want to have an impact. I want to bring something to the world that isn't in it already. All right. Thanks again. Really, really appreciate your time, your input, your friendship, your encouragement, and even your criticism if it comes to that. It's like I say, I just want to get better at what I do. All right. Thanks again. Bye for now.